Hi, this is Mike Huckabee with our digital exclusive called Breakdown, where we break down big issues in the news. One way for China to be held accountable for the Wuhan virus from Wuhan, China, is for us to tally up the astronomical financial hit we're taking and simply subtract it from the amount of U.S. debt held by the Chinese. And I see I'm not the only one to be thinking along these lines. Monday, Senator Lindsey Graham appeared on Sean Hannity's TV show, and he gave his take, saying, if it were up to me, the whole world would send China a bill for the pandemic. He went on to point out that this is the third pandemic to come out of China, and that they come out of these wet markets that sell bats, monkeys, and many more species of exotic animals intermingle with the food supply. Of course, in this case, it's not just the food supply from wet markets we have to worry about. It's also possible that the Level 4 biolab and another infectious disease lab near the market at the epicenter of the Wuhan virus outbreak could have been the culprit. Both of these labs, by the way, study numerous strains of coronavirus. Senator Graham continued with a very big question for the American people. Who would you rather have taking on China next year? President Trump or Joe Biden? One look at Biden's television appearances in the last few months, and I think that becomes a pretty easy decision to make. And I think that deep down in all of his confusion, even Joe Biden might agree with us. Now, it's not just that China deceived the world about the virus, most notably about its human-to-human spread, but it possibly came from their own laboratories, and they're flat out lying about it. They've consistently lied about the scope of the virus, the numbers of people infected there, and even foolishly attempted to blame the U.S. military for the virus. Surely President Trump is thinking about financial resolutions just like this to the economic devastation that's being caused by this virus. Now, this is far from over, and there needs to be a very big price tag. As I said to Sean Hannity later in that same show, President Trump is doing what a good executive does. He's delegating, surrounding himself with smart people, and turning decisions over to those at the state and local levels who are actually closer to those directly being affected. Big government Democrats always want to cram everyone into a one-size-fits-all solution, whether it works or not. And the president is trying to avoid doing just that. He's giving governors the resources they need and then letting them determine how best to use them. President Trump hasn't tried to second-guess every decision the governors make. As I've been in the governor's role myself, I know how much the president's approach would help me do the job of managing my own state. In fact, some states, such as Washington and Oregon, are reportedly taking the initiative to send their surplus supplies, including ventilators, to some locations that are being hit even harder right now, like New York. Even Democrat governors like Gavin Newsom of California and Andrew Cuomo of New York have publicly complimented President Trump on his leadership style. And let's be honest, they're not exactly political allies. In a moment, I'm going to get to some very happy news concerning the deep state. But before I do, would you do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button below? And then hit the notification bell next to it and the like button if you're enjoying this video, and I sure hope you are. That'll make me feel a lot better about myself and about you as well. Our second story today. Even though the Wuhan virus pandemic continues to suck up pretty much all the news coverage, Democrats and the media, but then I repeat myself, got distracted long enough to slam President Trump for something completely different: the firing of Intelligence Community Inspector General Michael Atkinson. Now, if you followed Atkinson's story in my newsletter on MikeHuckabee.com, and I hope you have, and if you haven't been, remember you can subscribe totally free at MikeHuckabee.com. But if you've read through the reports that I've linked concerning Atkinson, you know he richly deserved the boot. Of course, Democrats described his unceremonious canning as Trump's payback for Atkinson passing along the bogus report of whistleblower Eric Ciaramella to House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff's office, which kicked off the impeachment. What they didn't mention is all the reasons that his actions were flagrantly wrong and termination worthy. I'm going to get a little bit into the weeds here, but bear with me because it's worth it. Margot Cleveland has a great piece in The Federalist that'll refresh your memory on some of the details. When Atkinson received the complaint from CIA official Sia Ramella concerning a phone conversation that Trump had had with President Zelensky of Ukraine, he accepted the 9 unsubstantiated pages as worthy of forwarding to then Acting Director of National Intelligence, the DNI, Joseph Maguire, maintaining to the DNI that this complaint fell within the statutory provisions of the Intelligence Community Whistleblower Protection Act. I know that's a mouthful. Stay with me. Under the Act, the complaint was supposed to be forwarded within 7 days to the House and Senate Intel committees, and the complainant was supposed to have whistleblower protection. But this complaint doesn't fall under the Act, and that's why I refuse to pretend it does, and I will specify the name Eric C. Ramella anytime I want. After all, Obama holdover and Democrat activist Sia Ramella was outed a long time ago. Everyone knows his identity. And I'm not going to play the we don't know who the whistleblower game is. Now, when Maguire received the complaint from Atkinson, he didn't think it fit the whistleblower statute, and so he consulted the DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel. They issued a detailed opinion stating that the complaint indeed did not fit the statute. They also said that Atkinson should refer his complaint to the Department of Justice, not give it to the intelligence committees. But Atkinson ignored this. He went around Maguire and the DOJ and sent a letter to Adam Schiff telling him about the complaint. Adam Schiff responded by going to Maguire, demanding he provide the House Intel Committee with the complaint, though doing so would have violated executive privilege because it invoked presidential communications. Maguire, understandably and rightfully, said he couldn't do that. Well, Schiff had a fit and implied that the president was behind Maguire's refusal to turn over the complaint. President Trump responded simply by declassifying not only the complaint, but the very transcript of the phone call that prompted it, showing that the complaint was a huge pack of lies. But they impeached him anyway. Oh, there's much more. To cite just one more example, recall that it was discovered that there had been some stealth editing of the whistleblower complaint from someone in Atkinson's office to delete the stated requirement that for a complaint to be considered credible, the whistleblower must possess first-hand information. Turns out, Sia Ramella didn't have a speck of first-hand information, but the altered complaint form paved the way for him to submit his complaint anyhow. Atkinson knew the rules, and unless he were in on the scheme, how could he have not determined that a hearsay complaint such as this would be considered credible? All that to say, knowingly, willingly, or otherwise, a stooge of the deep state has been removed from his office, draining the swamp little by little. Well, thank you so much for watching, and before you go, be sure to take a moment to answer the question that's popping up on the upper right of your screen right now. Because if you want more of my news analysis, please subscribe to my newsletter on MikeHuckabee.com and subscribe to the channel here. Both are absolutely free. Then hit the notification bell for more videos just like this one. That's it for this edition of Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.